We've got some amazing stuff to tell you about in this episode. I bring on Joe Davis from GotBaseballCards.com, and he has some statistics that will blow your mind about current card prices and the current state of the sports card hobby. My name is Geoff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies, and at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love. Sports card investors, and welcome to another episode, and it is a good one today because it is always a special episode when I get to bring Joe Davis from GotBaseballCards.com on the show, one of the most knowledgeable people in the hobby, someone who has owned a very popular sports card store for almost 30 years and who sells hundreds of thousands of cards on eBay and on Amazon, and boy, does he have some interesting statistics about the current state of the sports card hobby and some thoughts to share with you today. You're going to want to listen to this. Hey, I wanted to mention to you that we are really starting to do some really cool stuff on my social media channels. My Instagram channel, which is at SportsCardInvestor on Instagram, and my Twitter, which is at SportsCardINV. We're doing things like question of the day. We're doing the best flip of the week, the hottest card of the week. A lot of sports investing information and discussion is now taking place on my social media channels. So if you don't yet follow me, please pause the video and go follow me on Instagram at SportsCardInvestor, and go follow me on Twitter at SportsCardINV. You will not be sorry you did. It's great conversation. Would like to have you as part of it. Speaking of great conversation, let's get to this interview with Joe because it's a good one. Joe Davis of GotBaseballCards.com. Let's bring him on the show right now. Please join me in welcoming Joe. Hey, Joe. Welcome back to Sports Card Investor.
Thanks, Geoff. Great to be back with y'all today.
It's always wonderful to have you on the show, and especially now, these are interesting times. I know as a shop owner, you're seeing some amazing card sales right now in some unexpected ways. So tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, we have been amazed. Our card sales on singles have just been through the roof over the last few weeks. I mean, unlike anything we expected based upon everything else going on in the economy right now. The craziest trend we're seeing, I've been trying to come up with a good term for it, and I've started calling it the iconic card chase, because we're seeing this huge run for the first time I ever remember, on veterans. People are buying up quantities of key, like established Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, from all these iconic sets, like first and second year Prism, across all sports. The first select sets, the first finest sets, the first optics sets, and the numbers are just staggering at what I'm seeing some of this stuff resell for in PSA 10s.
Yeah, it's been wild. And do you think, so I've done some shows where I've talked about like the rise in Jordan prices, and then the rise in other Bulls kind of followed Jordan, and now we're seeing other classic players from other sports kind of follow that. Do you think this was all started by Jordan? Is the run on Jordan what created this whole entire wave?
No, I mean, I think Jordan, seeing a strong price for Jordan later year cards, he was certainly probably the first one where we started seeing that. But LeBron, as far as the most, like say the last 10 years, I would say it started with LeBron. Really, the one that I look at is the 2012 Prism on LeBron, because I checked a couple of days ago, and the last one closed for almost $1,800 in PSA 10 for a base card. And then that's been followed by the 2012 Brady Prism. Last one of those I saw sold for $800 in PSA 10. And that's just staggering for a veteran card, base card. And so I never thought I'd come on your show and tell people, in the last week I've spent thousands of dollars buying up veteran cards. But that's the trend right now. That's what my customers are wanting.
Yeah, and people who have watched my show for a long time know that I always say, buy the rookie cards, buy the rookie cards, buy the rookie cards. The only exception I will normally give people is, well, if a player goes to a new team and it does really well with a new team, such as wins a championship, then you could buy the first year card of that player with the new team because then they're in that team's jersey, like what you might see this year with Anthony Davis's optic hollow, where he's in a Lakers jersey, or last year LeBron's optic hollow, he's in a Lakers jersey. But that's not the case right now. Like right now, like that old adage of buy the rookie cards, or that's about all. Now we're seeing, as you said, we're seeing all of these, kind of interesting cards throughout time go crazy. And we've seen it with all these different Michael Jordan inserts, but it's the phenomenon of kind of the first Prism cards is really interesting. And you were just mentioning that with someone like Brady and someone like LeBron.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing it now, though. Everybody's trying to get one step ahead, and so we sell on sites all over the U.S. We sell in Canada, the U.K. We have sites in different places, and so we're seeing these trends. And like it starts with LeBron, starts with Brady, but then we've seen a run on. Let's take football. We've seen a run on, Breeze and Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Their early Prism and Chrome cards. We've seen in basketball. We're seeing it in Giannis, Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi, Anthony Davis. Their early Prism and Chrome cards. A real throwback we're seeing a run on is 93 Finest. As I think we've talked how the Jordan card has jumped up to like $150 now in 93 Finest, ungraded. And now we're starting to see others follow, the Pippen and the Shaq and the Rodman and Bird and the other Hall of Famers out of that set, I think are a steal right now. When you see Jordan at $150, and that's the first year Finest set. And it was only a year before that the first Finest set came out with the 92 Finest football test set. So it's crazy what I'm seeing people chasing.
Is it because some of these sets you are mentioning, like Finest and Prism, these are the first. Well, Finest. So a little bit of history here. Finest was the first Chrome set. Is that right?
Yes.
So 92 Finest football was the first set of cards ever printed on that kind of Chrome, glossy type of stock, right?
And that one was only a 30 card test set. It was not issued in wax.
And then 93 Finest basketball was the first kind of full-on set that was printed that way, correct?
Correct.
93, there was 93 Finest baseball, then 93, 94 Finest basketball, and there wasn't a 93 Finest football, but then they came out, then there was 94 Finest football.
So for whatever reason, collectors, investors are romancing the start of the Chrome era of sports cards, which of course now is, the dominant, thing. Everybody wants the Chrome cards, not the paper cards. And so that, I guess, is it a little bit of historical nostalgia, perhaps that's drawing people to that like 93, 94 Finest basketball set, do you think?
I think so. It's the fact that people, it started really, as far as modern day, it started with the Prism because people love the Prism brand. And then as we've all seen the rise of optic lately. And so I see people going back and saying, let's get the first Chrome cards of these guys. They're established, they're already Hall of Famers. We've seen a big demand for 93 Finest Griffey, other Hall of Famers out of that set. That's always been an iconic set, the 93 Finest.
Yeah, and you mentioned Prism. So Prism 2012 was the first year of Panini Prism in both basketball and football, if I recall.
Baseball and hockey, but what's been amazing to me, even the baseball people, it's unlicensed. People just don't seem to care anymore. That used to always be the knock on Panini baseball products, but as far as the old Prism and the old 2013 Select was the first time they did Select baseball. That's not licensed, but we're seeing a run on Trout and Jeter and Griffey and all those key cards out of the first couple of year sets.
Yeah, I guess people are kind of, I've seen a lot of people on eBay selling these cards and they're listing them as like their Prism rookie, right? So, I mean, I guess people who follow the old adage of always go buy a player's rookie cards, well, this is their Prism rookie card. So even though they've been in the league for 10 years, this is the first Prism card that they've ever had. So I can kind of sort of consider it still a rookie card, right?
Yeah, that's funny. That's the term people are starting to use. And I mean, it's silly to me, but until they come up with a catchier term, I guess you can just say first Prism, first Select, first Optic, whatever. And so Because I mean, we're even seeing people start chasing 16 optic Trout because it's Trout's first optic card, and so it's just amazing. All these sets that are still established, optics still coming out every year, and select and just this week we started seeing it. We're huge in soccer with our U.S. break site, and we started seeing a chase for Messi and Ronaldo first Prism cards from 2014 World Cup Prism. So it keeps. I haven't seen it really in hockey yet. I'm not saying it's not going on. We don't have a lot of that old Prism hockey inventory, so it may be happening there as well, but I've definitely seen it in the other four sports that we follow.
I've been looking at hockey card prices in my Market Movers data tool. They have not been moving as much as the more popular American sports. They've not. Like I've been looking at Gretzky's prices. They've been relatively flat, and during a time period, he's had some sales that have bumped up, and then he'll have a sale the next day that kind of comes back down again for the same card. They're more flat right now. They're not following the exact same arc that that football, baseball, and basketball seem to be going on. I'm theorizing that to maybe differences in perception with coronavirus and just kind of the state of the economy and the state of the world right now in Canada versus America. So you've got more hockey collectors obviously in Canada, and maybe they're perceiving all of this a little bit differently. It's interesting because in America, and I'm curious, how, what your feelings kind of overall are on just the state of the sports card market, because we had this crazy run up in card prices through early March, right? February and early March, where it's like every day, jump. I was doing all of these episodes. Every time I did an episode, it was record breaking prices. Then we had sports paused. And then we had a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, where cards started to come down. And I kept, a lot of cards came down about 30% or so. And I was doing episodes. I was talking about the drop, and people back then were asking me, when should I, is it time to buy? When should I buy? And I said, I think there will be a plateau soon. And then I think we'll start to see things go back up again. And you should try to buy during the plateau period. So that's exactly what happened. We hit a plateau in the late March. And then we started to see the uptick again, starting right around the end of March, beginning of April. And we've seen now a consistent uptick since then. In fact, some cards have gone well over where they were back at their March 10 peak. And it's such a divisive thing amongst people who watch this show, because I'll have people in my comments every show that will say, now's the time to buy because it's only up and up and up from here. Whereas I'll have a whole nother group of people who are like, y'all are crazy. The sports card market is going to crash. This is unsustainable. The economy is in danger. We're going into a recession. None of this is sustainable. It's all fake, and it's all going to come right back down. I'm in the first boat. I'm in the optimistic boat that we're this sports card market that was red hot before the pause of sports is starting to become red hot again, and is going to continue to be red hot once sports come back and everything like that. But what are you seeing, from kind of a sales and market perspective? What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I've been amazed. Like I said, we had our best 30-day period on eBay we've ever had since we've been on eBay in 1998. In total sales. And I've talked to a number of friends across the industry. I talked to 2 of the biggest wax dealers in the country yesterday, and they were like, I'm 1,000 shipments behind. Like, we cannot keep up with demand. I know that breakers are doing phenomenal right now because so many people are at home watching them break product, even though there's nothing new coming out. But we are seeing a consistent increase across the board, especially on products from the last couple of years, because there's nothing new coming. So, 19 football, 20 football, 1920 basketball. I mean, I was playing it safe. And when this all started, I sold off a large quantity of cases of 1920 basketballs. I'm like, there may not be a season. This stuff may soften. I'm going to play it safe, and wish I had all those cases back, because they've now moved above where I sold them at in March. So
yeah,
things are really strong, and people, maybe some people have shifted what they're buying. Like this trend we're seeing on the veterans, a lot of people are buying up quantities of affordable cards because they feel like they're safe investments. If they happen to grade them and get a 10, even better. But I think some people are playing it safe, but that doesn't mean they're not spending money.
Yeah, and that's an interesting trend. So you're seeing, you've got all these cards obviously on eBay. I know you got hundreds of thousands of cards that you sell across eBay and Amazon. And by the way, gotbaseballcards.com is, Joe's website, and Got Baseball Cards is his eBay store. Are you seeing the ungraded lower cost singles? Is that where a lot of the popularity rise has been?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some strong sales on high dollar stuff too, but the biggest trend we're seeing is people buying up quantities. I mean, we're getting orders for 20, 30, 40 cards at a time of the same card, and people are going back to things they already know that they're safe. One of the other crazy ones we had a run on this week was the 91 Upper Deck Jordan baseball card. It's the first Upper Deck card of Jordan, shows him batting with a white socks, and it was SP1 in 91 Upper Deck baseball. We've sold that card forever. It's been like a $10 card forever. And all of a sudden, we had some orders this weekend for it. And so I was like, what's going on? I looked, and they were closing for like $350 and up in PSA 10. And I was like, wow. But it is his first Upper Deck card, and some call it his baseball rookie card, so but that was a well-known card. Salvage card's been around. I mean, just like I know you've talked about the 97 Metal Universe. Those have, I mean, that Jordan card probably I've sold in my $5 box for years, and now one sold for over $2,000 as a 9. I mean,
It's absolute insanity. It's so one of the fun things I get to do every day. I wake up and my Market Movers data tool, which of course tracks all of these price changes of all the popular cards. It actually has one of the ways that it works is that it flags sales on eBay that it doesn't think are real, and we have this kind of artificial intelligence built into it because I don't want a false sale to go into my data. That's one of the things about my Market Movers tool is when you look at the data in there, the data is very pure. So unlike other data sources where you can go look at past sales, we screen out all of the fraudulent, or not even fraudulent, but sales where someone puts like PSA 10 question mark and it's not really a PSA 10. Like we detect and screen all that stuff out of our data. But as part of that, there has to be a human review element because the artificial intelligence will flag transactions as this doesn't look real, but take a look at it. And so every morning now I've been getting up, and the first thing I do is I look at these transactions that it has flagged, and my artificial intelligence continues to flag all of these sales of classic Jordan cards and classic, like the Ken Griffey Jr. card, which is going insane, or the Jordan baseball, or any of those cards. It's flagging them and going, this sale can't possibly be real. Like the computer is saying this sale isn't real because there's no way that this card would have jumped from, being down here price-wise 3 days ago, and now all of a sudden it's up here. It's detecting something wrong. Of course, I then go and manually review it, and I'm like, no, this is legit. This is a legit sale. And so I add it into the database, and but that process every morning, it's like, it's the greatest entertainment on earth to look at what things sold for on eBay last night. I get my coffee, I shake my head and I laugh, but I mean, it's a happy laugh. It's because I'm happy that the market is so hot, and that, that people are, finding all these new cards to get excited about.
Yeah. And the other thing I've been thinking about, of course, with PSA not taking regular submissions right now, they've opened back up to take some of the higher dollar stuff, but I'm imagining this massive glut of, not really, but just this massive amount of modern cards being sent in. I mean, they're behind just with all the rookie stuff being sent in. I mean, I had a customer call me this week. He said, yeah, I've got about 1,000 cards ready to give you to send to PSA, and it's all modern veterans. So can you imagine when everybody starts grading all their veteran cards from the last 10 years, all their key ones, how behind they're going to get?
It's amazing. And I do think, SGC has been picking up some steam. I see more and more bloggers and YouTube shows talking about SGC, and part of the reason is because they're open for business right now, and they're actually grading cards, and they actually have quick turnaround times, and people are really frustrated with the turnaround times at PSA especially, and also the turnaround times at Beckett, which have slowed down, coupled with the fact that they're both closed right now. Their turnaround times are going to get insane, and I agree, but here's the thing that people aren't realizing. The only reason why SGC has really good turnaround times right now is because not nearly as many people submit cards to them. And if all of these people start flooding SGC with cards, it's not going to be long until SGC is going to have the same bad turnaround times as PSA and Beckett. Like, they're not going to be able to keep up either. And yes, they can try to hire new people, but but also PSA could try to hire new people and Beckett could try to hire new people. I'm sure it is not easy to hire people off the street who are qualified to grade and authenticate sports cards. Like, that's not a talent that almost anybody walking down the street has. So, it's got to be difficult positions to hire for. And honestly, so I wouldn't I do want SGC to be successful, and I would like to see them get as much respect in the marketplace as PSA and BGS, but I wouldn't get too excited about their turnaround times because I think that could reverse itself pretty quickly.
Yeah, could very well. So
yeah, but that's interesting. And so the graded backlog, and as an investor, like there's you got to always try to think one step ahead, especially now because the sports card market has become so sophisticated. Even in the 8 months or so, 10 months now that I've been doing this video series, like during that 10 months, the sports card market has become incredibly more sophisticated. And some of the things that were true back when I started this video series are no longer true. Things like, buy cards in the off season. No, there's not really an off season anymore. Like if you go back a couple of years ago, you would always see the prices drop in the off season, and that's your buying opportunity. But like if I'm looking at like football right now, Kyler Murray's cards have gone crazy. Drew Lock's cards have gone crazy. Sam Darnold's up in the offseason. Lamar Jackson's up. Patrick Mahomes is up. What offseason? Like, these guys have gotten more valuable since the season ended than they were back when the season was going on. And I think that we're going to continue to see that trend across all sports because what's happening is any dip in fan interest because of the offseason is being replaced by the fact that we have new people coming in every single day, and they don't have a Patrick Mahomes card yet. They don't have a Lamar Jackson card yet, so they want to buy one. So the movement of these cards is not really slowing down like it used to. There's so many elements that are changing. And anyway, my point is one thing that you need to take away is you got to now not only remain a step ahead of everybody else, you kind of got to remain a couple steps ahead of everybody else and anticipate where everything is going. And it's thinking about so the graded issue, right? The fact that PSA is so backed up, BGS is so backed up, that's going to create a supply problem on graded cards, especially from recent releases. Like, the graded Prism basketball, the graded, especially Optic basketball, where not many of those have come back graded yet. That's all that's going to be on the market for a little while. So the demands, that you may see a scenario where the NBA announces it's resuming and more basketball collectors start buying, but the supply of some of the recent basketball releases in graded form is going to remain artificially small during that period until PSA finally fully reopens, processes orders, and they've got such a backlog that they're probably not getting to the Optic orders anytime soon anyway. So I think your Optic basketball release from this year is going to have a very sparse graded card population for quite some time until PSA and Beckett are able to catch up. So as an investor, think a couple steps ahead and think what that might mean with like a supply and demand curve, in the upcoming months.
Yeah, because I mean, we have really good turnaround. And before they shut down, the most recent shipment we got back was one we sent in early December. So we were already at like 3.5 months. And so who knows, you're right, Optic, which just came out as far as card products, you're going to be looking at probably August, September before much of that's really getting back, before a good percentage is getting back into collectors' hands.
And hopefully by August and September, we will have had an NBA playoffs and we probably will have a new NBA champion. So, yeah. But the Optic cards of that champion are still sitting off in a grading company, which by the way, not just creates a supply problem for graded cards, but also somewhat of a supply problem for raw cards, because a lot of the good quality raw cards are now sitting in PSA's warehouse. So, it's how the effect that's going to have on the market is going to be, plus the fact that new sets aren't coming out. So you've got like this real shortage, honestly, in like, modern cards from this season, which sounds crazy to say. But it's the truth. And, at the moment, it may not matter as much because people are more into the classic cards and, they're watching the Jordan documentary and they're not thinking as much about, some of the modern guys. But if basketball gets back on TV soon, it could really be interesting to see what that supply problem does with, with modern card prices.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, a lot of the dollars are going into because there's no money being spent on fantasy sports. There's no money being spent on new releases. So those dollars are being poured into older product, whether that means product from 3 months ago or product from 3 years ago or whatever, and older, like we said, established singles, which I think is all part of the reason this trend is blowing up is because so many dollars are going into those kind of cards right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This has been a great conversation, Joe. I appreciate it. Anything more you're seeing, anything out there for our viewers to take away?
I would just think, as far as the main topic we've hit on, I would just tell them, keep their eyes open, try to be one step ahead. But I mean, the trend I'm seeing again, it's first, our early Prism and Chrome cards on all the top stars, and all the way back to the early 90s, and it's crazy that we're even seeing that. One of the other cards I forgot to mention, just last night, a PSA 10 Brady first year optic sold for like $225. I mean, to me, that was a $4 or $5 raw card, until this week, and now it's over $200. So just keep in mind, first Prism, first Select, first Optic, first Finest, whatever. I mean, that's the trend that we're seeing, and I think it's with us probably being down, as a country, at least maybe a couple more months, or at least sectors of it. I think this could really snowball in the next few weeks.
All right, I can't wait to go find my first Obsidian cards, or my first my first Chronicles, or my first XR. No, those sets probably aren't going to have the same effect because they're not considered kind of the classic sets within each sport. But it's kind of fun to think about, right? What the classic sets are and what people might be chasing. It's wild. It's fun times. This is something that I love about the hobby. I imagine as a sports card shop owner and having such a huge amount of cards on eBay, this has really had to keep you on your toes during a time when I know your physical shop is closed. It has to be, and you probably have limited staff, and I imagine it's difficult for you to maybe keep up with some of this craziness right now.
Yeah, it's been challenging. We've actually had to bring more people, but we had some working at home. We've had to bring more back just to try to keep up with order volume. And I've literally been trying to eyeball the orders as they come in the mornings, trying to say, okay, what's the next trend? What's the next set? Like we had a run on 92 Bowman Griffey. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Kind of an iconic set. It's an early Griffey card, And so my guys who were pulling the order just say, hey, I think this is the next one. Here's the next one. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Then now they're buying this one. Now they're buying that one. And so, but it's been fun. I've been trying to keep a running list of all these sets that are trending and the key cards out of each one. I'm putting an article out on our website this week with that information. So if that's helpful to any of your viewers. So.
Yeah, for sure. So Joe's website is gotbaseballcards.com. So he's going to be posting an article that's kind of a follow-up to this episode where he's talking a little bit more about some of the cards that have been trending and some of those interesting things in the market right now. So check out gotbaseballcards.com and check out Joe's article.
All right. Yeah. We'll
wow.
Joe, you can come up with.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, this is, I am so happy to hear that your business is doing well, despite all of the craziness everywhere else. I mean, honestly, we're fortunate to be in this hobby right now. And we're fortunate that, there's so many other businesses out there that are obviously having to deal with some really difficult decisions, with letting people go or furloughing employees and, struggling to keep ends meet, to make ends meet, to ensure that they actually have a business to come back to when they're able to reopen their doors. And, what a blessing it is to be in this hobby right now and to actually have a bit of the opposite problem, which is, demand is so high, it's difficult to keep up.
Yeah, I told my wife the other night, I said, when I came home, just worn out from orders and dealing with volume. And I said, I think we must be in the most recession-proof industry on the face of the earth. I said, because the stock market's tanking, everybody's getting, millions of people getting laid off, but we just keep selling cards. We just keep selling cards. I mean, I talked to a friend this week. He said, and he moves more volume than we do. He said over a 48-hour period, he sold 18,000 singles. Can you imagine? trying to pull that. I mean, yeah. So, and that wore me out hearing it, you know.
It's incredible. You would. It's incredible. But people, as I've said throughout this, all of the reasons why people rushed back into sports cards over the last year or two still exist today. And yes, there's economic uncertainty, and yes, that has driven some people out of the market, or it has caused some people to get concerned about the state of the market. But at the end of the day, people love collecting. They love the sports card they love the hobby. There's so many great things to love about it. And it's such a nice distraction. And especially during this time when there's no sports and there's no fantasy and there's no gambling, it's entertainment to be able to do this. And so it's all those reasons why people love it. It's all still there. And certainly, obviously, everyone's got to be mindful of their own, financial means right now. But I think people are doing that, and they're saying like, okay, the world's going to get back to normal. I'm going to be okay. I still love sports cards. I want to continue to collect and invest. And now for many people at a heightened height compared to, what they used to be doing. So it's fascinating to see. Yeah. Well, good, Joe. I appreciate you being on the show again. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and hope you have a good rest of your week, and hope these wonderful sales continue.
All right. Really appreciate it, Geoff. Great seeing you.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Joe Davis of GotBaseballCards.com. It's always a pleasure to have him on the show. Listen, if you agree with Joe and I that this is an opportunity to get into the sports card hobby and to look at the data and to understand trends and to stay a step ahead of those trends, then you need to join my membership program, because that is what my membership program is all about. My Market Movers data tool gives you all of the raw data, daily sales data across the entire hobby to help you stay ahead of the trends. And I also give out a card pick of the week, and we have a great community of sports card investors who are answering each other's questions and helping each other out as we all decipher what's going on in the marketplace and how best to profit from it. Go to my website, sportscardinvestor.com. Click on the membership link in the main menu bar, and as a special incentive, if you use promo code Jordan, you will get 20% off your first month, or if you pay annually, 20% off your first year. So again, go to my website, sportscardinvestor.com, click on the membership button, and use promo code Jordan for 20% off your first month or your first annual payment. Thanks so much for watching. Please give this show a subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell icon on YouTube so you can get notified of new episodes. I really appreciate it. I put 3 episodes out a week, which means I'll see you back Sunday morning with my next one. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day.